Good day, I'm Marjun Lusay, and now we're going to discuss about assessing grammar effectively. So in assessing grammar effectively, we need to find and adapt many ways to assess the grammar skills of our students or learners. So this discussion focuses or highlights about on how to assess the grammar skills of our students or learners, especially we're becoming an educator in the near future. So these are very essential for us to be aware of those massive ways that we're going to tackle or discuss in this day on how to assess or what are those ways that we're going to adapt or use in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners effectively. So, but before we proceed to those ways, let us discuss first the importance or why we need to assess the grammar skills of our students, how important it is or what are the reason why we need to assess the grammar knowledge or skills of our students or learners. So, and as a future educator, these are very essential or significant for us without choosing field. It's essential for us that we are aware on how important in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners. Without knowing the importance of grammar assessment, I think we don't take this discussion seriously. So, that's why I'm giving you first a short explanation about the importance of assessing grammar skills before we proceed to those ways in assessing grammar skills so that we have already a background knowledge about the importance of assessing grammar so that you will listen attentively if we proceed to those ways in assessing the grammar skills because we are already have aware about the importance of it. So, first reason why we need to assess the grammar skills of our students or learners. First, this can help for us to determine a student's proficiency in a language and seeing the student's progress. Second, it helps also to identify the strengths and weaknesses of learners or students and for their development, for their skills development. And third, to determine also how well students are comprehending the material that has been covered or how much the information they pick up from a specific course. And last is to give the students a feedback from them to apply and development or further development of their individual skills or knowledge. So it's a very important that we collect informations and make judgment on a learner's or student's grammar knowledge of language and ability to use it. So it can develop or it can give benefits both teachers and students. So now let's proceed to the ways in assessing the grammar skills of students or learners effectively. So I've searched many ways in assessing the grammar skills of students. So most ways in assessing grammar skills of students or learners that I'm going to present to you are familiar to us. So I've found many ways or I found in online sources that there are many ways in assessing the grammar skills of students, but I'm just going to present 8 ways in assessing the grammar skills of students, which are the oral interview, the class presentation, the role play, close exam, fill in the blank, the writing sample, portfolio, and last we have the true or false exam. So first, let's proceed to the first way. We have the oral interview. So what is interview and how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? So oral interview is a one-on-one interview with each students to get an idea of their listening and speaking abilities. So oral interview, this is one of the most effective ways in assessing the grammar skills of students. Through oral interview or one-on-one interview, we can directly detect and determine the weaknesses and strengths of our students in terms with their grammar skills or knowledge. As a future educator, if we adopt and use this oral interview in assessing the grammar skills or knowledge of our students or learners, we need to compose and ask using the grammatical or we need to compose and ask a questions using grammatical structures and vocabulary that your class has studied well and help us to know exactly if what each or and it helps to the students of what each student has learned. So another tip, if you're adopting this way in assessing the grammar skills of your students or learners, as educator, you don't penalize a student for not knowing content if he or she can compose grammatically and situationally correct statements or questions in response to your questions or the answers of your students or learners. So again, through using oral interview, we can easily and directly assess the communicative grammar skills of students or learners. So now let's proceed to the second. We have the class presentation. So what is class presentation and how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of students or learners? So class presentation, it assesses a different aspect of a spoken language. So when we say class presentation, it's a great way in assessing the grammar skills of students or learners also. So now, how does it becomes a way in assessing the students' grammar skills? Well, through class presentation, the students can practice all the language system areas such as, or what are those language system? We have the grammar, the phonology, and vocabulary. So through class presentation, we can already assess the grammar skills of students, and we find that students who are good presenters are better communicators all around. So they are able to structure and express their ideas clearly. So how we can say that class presentation can be considered as a way in assessing the grammar skills of students or learners. So for you to know that class presentation is a channel for students to share with others or in a class of what they have learned. So in the process of sharing their ideas or opinion about with the subject matter, we can already assess the communicative grammar skills of students or learners while they are speaking. So class presentation assesses the communicative grammar skills of students when you ask them to speak in front of the class and they prepare and practice what the students want to say or express rather. So now let's proceed. We have the role play. So what is the role play? So it is used to or able to use the language creatively with one another. So what is role play or how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of students or learners? So role play is another way to assess your students speaking abilities and assess the grammar skills of students or learners is by having them to perform a role play in front of the class. So how we can say that a role play can be considered as a way in assessing the grammar skills of your students or learners? Well, the teacher must give them a situation and a role to play, and by that, while they are performing, we can already assess the grammar skills of students. So how or in what way? So while they are performing, we already make a judgment with their communicative grammar skills, and we can see how creatively your students are able to use the language with one another. If we adapt this way in assessing the grammar skills of students, so as an educator or teacher, we need to foster the important skills of students such as if your students are able to understand each other or are they able to use the language skills they possess to get their point across to their partner. So, by fostering and considering that important skills mentioned, we already assess the communicative grammar skills of our students or learners. So another way that we could say or that we can say that the role playing allows teachers to assess students. Role playing is a technique and it will lead student or I mean it will lead or it can lead students to use and learn more vocabulary. They have more grammatical control. So now let's proceed to the close exam. So close exam, they fill in the blanks with words they think would be most logical and grammatical. So what is close exam and how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners. So close exam as a way of as this is a way of um, testing comprehension by removing words from a passage or sentence and then asking the reader or learner to supply the missing elements. So, how we could say that a closed exam is a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? Well, closed exam is an assessment consisting of a portion of language with a certain item such as the words or signs removed where the students asked to replace the language item. In that process, we are already assessing the grammar skills or the grammar knowledge of our students or learners because it requires the ability to understand the content and vocabulary in order to identify the correct language or part of speech that belongs in the related passages. So, by the way, this exercise is commonly administered for the assessment of grammar skills. So again, closed exam is one of the way in assessing the grammar skills because we're asking students to fill in the blanks with words they think would be the most logical and grammatical. So in that assessment process, we can see a variety of answers among with your students. But as long as the answers are grammatically and logically correct, the student should receive full credit. So now let's proceed to the fill in the blank. So it is used to test a specific grammar structure or set of vocabulary. So what is I fill in the blank and how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? So fill in the blank, this type of a way of assessment may seem similar to a closed exam. But in closed exam, there are deleted passages or deleted words. But this type of assessment is you need to fill in the blanks about a specific grammatical structures or set of vocabulary. So, as a future educator, how we assess the grammar skills of our students using fill in the blank? Well, as we are the future educator, if we are using fill in the blank in assessing the grammar student, or in assessing the students' grammar skills or knowledge, we can write individual sentence or an entire paragraph for your students. But it is probably best to describe a word blank or in or either case. We can choose to supply more words then will be necessary to fill in the blanks to make the test more challenging. So in that process, we're already testing a specific grammatical structures or set of vocabulary of our learners or students. So next, let's proceed to the writing sample. So what is a writing sample and how does it becomes a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? So writing sample used to assess their proficiency with grammar through writing. So this is another way to assess the proficiency with grammar of your students or learners. This is one the most common way on how to assess the grammar skills of students or learners. So how we can say that we are already assessing or that we can already assess the grammar skills of our students by using the writing sample. So if you're an educator or teacher, you can ask or provide them an assigned topic or subject matter. So one of the best example is an essay writing. So you're assigning them a topic or subject which they need to which they need to write and compose a sentences or paragraph. So through that process, we're already assessing the grammar skills of students or learners because after the write and we check the work of our students or learners, we can already get an accurate look at their grammatical and writing proficiency. So through that, we already assessing the grammar knowledge or skills of our students or learners, or we can already determine of which parts or area that we apply or we need a reteaches about that grammar or that grammar topic or lesson. So next, let's proceed to the portfolio. So what is a portfolio and how does it becomes also a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? So portfolio is used to ask students or it is used to ask students to present their work or portfolio. So portfolio it is a collection of work samples that covers several aspects of the assignments of your students have completed. So what is the connections of portfolio in assessing the grammar skills of students? Because this is just a collections of work sample or student compilation with their collections. Well, let's see for example if you are asking your students for a grammatical homework assignment, writing sample and vocabulary exercises. So these specific activities or task compilation, you're already assessing the grammatical skills of students or learners. And you can ask also your students to present one of their best work or they can choose one their work that they may feel proud or they feel proud with that you choosing work. So while they are presenting, we already assessing the communicative grammar skills of our students. So while they are presenting, we can conclude or we already assessing the grammar skills of our students because they are composing a paragraph, a sentences, or applying a grammatical rules. So now let's proceed to the last. We have the true or false quiz. So what is true or false quiz and how does it becomes also a way in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners? So true or false is used by most teachers and they don't give they don't give three questions focus on minor details. So true or false quiz, this is a classic way in assessing the grammar skills of your students or learners and it is the most used by teachers. So how we can say that the how we can assess or the grammar how we can assess the grammar skills of our students using the true or false quiz only. If you observe that there are many times students correcting the questions that they say are true or false. If they are making the corrections rather than just identifying the mistake rather, you will make sure that they are answering from what they know rather than making prediction or lucky guesses. So, in this process, we already assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners. So, in this case, if we can give, in this process or in this case, which in this situation, how we can give a points to students or to our learners? Well, we can assign 1 point to each answer and another point to each correction in the test. So through that, we already have a scoring of assessment and we already assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners. So that's all my discussion in this afternoon or in this topic, which is all about ways in assessing the grammar skills. And I hope that you have learned something because these are very essential for us and it serves as a field awareness for us, especially we're taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education. And we really need these ways in assessing the grammar skills of our students or learners someday. So once again, thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.